Hi, my name is Madi. I'm a Colorado knitter, and this is a podcast about knitting, fiber, yarn, all the making. Welcome to my second episode. This is September 2023. I really appreciate all the tips and tricks I received. I'm doing things a little differently this week, and we'll see how it goes. I really appreciate anyone who watched my first episode. It was definitely hard to put yourself out there, but I'm glad I did, and it was really fun to see the gentle comments and encouragement to continue podcasting. I really have fun sharing what I'm making, so hopefully I come across that way. I'll keep glancing down at my notebook. Again, this is the Maker's notebook. And it's kind of tricky to tell where I'm pointing this for you to see. But I'll link all the things down below in case I don't catch it well on the imaging for you. So I'll start off with my finished object for the week, and I happen to be wearing it. This is the Alpine Bloom, and the Alpine Bloom is by Caitlyn Hunter of Boylan Knitworks. I used Purl Soho Linen quill, and it's a lovely yarn that I seem to be making shawls and sweaters and all the things with. I really love the colors of linen quill. I love that it's not completely saturated or opaque in one tone. I like that it has the variation, and I'm pretty sure it has to do with the linen content in it. The blue color of this linen quill is vintage celadon, and we talked a little bit about it last time where I was just finishing the bottom and the hem. I did finish with a tubular or sewn bind off actually. I really enjoy sewn bind off for 1x1 ribbing. It takes forever though, so it took me 2 days to just bind it off. It's oat is the color, but the gray is oat gray, again in Purl Soho's linen quill. I love how it came out. I love the sleeve lace detail, and I'm very happy with how the lace panel attached to the mane using a Kitchener. I don't think I've done that in another sweater, so it was kind of an idea for future sweaters. If I wanted to try a different panel, how I could attach it to my main body panel. Very fun knit, as most of Caitlyn Hunter's knits. Addictive to see the color work come out. I couldn't wait to see the flowers. Now, the yoke gets quite a wide circumference because you divide for the sleeves after the colorwork yoke, and it definitely felt forever. Let's see here. I forgot to introduce myself in the manner of where you could find me. I am at Colorado Knitter on Instagram. So what I'll try to do is I'll post any of these finished items that I have here. So I'm motivated to finish more items. I'll post them on Instagram. That way you can see how they fit on my body. I'm about 5'1" and a 33 bust. So you can kind of see maybe if sizing helps at all, or even just how low things are, such as a V-neck I'll show you in a minute. The next finished item that I will show you is this Kirby sweater. Last week I had this sweater, and it was almost done. I want to button it up so I can show you the cute button I found. But last week I had one more sleeve and just a smidge on the bottom to complete. But this is the Kirby sweater. And I'm not sure how close to get with this back camera, but these buttons are adorable. I found them in my drawer, and I'm pretty sure they're from my mom. Thanks, Mom. The yarn I used for this is Explorer Knits, and it is 100% DK superwash, so it's a pretty fast little sweater, and it is blue spruce. And Explorer Knits is a Colorado dyer. Yay, Colorado! This is my second take, so I feel like that's a given these podcasts that I'm going to do it twice. So sometimes I feel like I already said all the stuff. Okay, the next FO is not a recent FO. I finished this a while back, and I wanted to show you because it's my most worn sweater. The sweater that I reach for and want every color in. It fits perfectly, feels awesome. It feels good with something under. It feels good with just nothing under. It's just a comfortable fiber drape sweater and color. It's a great color. This is again in Purl Soho Linen quill. You'll see a trend here. But this is the Kettle Black. And it's the Daily Pullover by Paula Pereira. And this pattern is actually available on Purl Soho's website. They have a good support for their yarns. And so I feel like if you enjoy a yarn and don't know which pattern to use, they kind of have some plans that you might enjoy. But this pattern is fantastic. This is my second daily pullover, and I actually like this one more. I learned a few things on my first one. So the first one I did had the V, the ribbing, which you pick up after making the body, was too tight. I think I was worried that it would be too low of a sweater for me, where I wouldn't want to wear it without a shirt under. And it ended up being kind of choky. Even though it's a V-neck, there was plenty of room. It just didn't look drapey and relaxed. So this one came out much better, where I used a bigger needle to make that drape on the neckline. The other thing, which you cannot see with black yarn, is the V. Or rather, at the V is a center decrease. On my first daily pullover, I followed the pattern, which is a beautiful pattern, and the decreases kind of go this direction, this direction, this direction. And so this time, instead, I did it one direction. Each center decrease was always the same. And I think what happened in my first one is that my tension, probably doing it the other direction, was either a little looser or a little tighter. So it didn't look very clean. So I will be doing the daily pullover at least in 2 more colors. I have a teal green and a navy blue that I will be doing. And I will do the neck just like this black one. It's a great sweater. I recommend it. And I've worn it a ton. And it's not balling up or anything. And I have very, very rough hands. So even on this sweater, I can see, even though this is linen quill, but I think the color work, I was really working with the yarn and feeling it. So it actually can have a little bit of balling. But it's my rough hands from Colorado weather. Let's see. Oh, as far as the daily pullover goes, my eye was drawn to it the first time by a podcast called A Friend to Knit With. She has a beautiful podcast, a very classical or classic wardrobe. She has a beautiful capsule wardrobe idea where she really wants everything to go together, and her color choices are beautiful. But I recommend that podcast. And she's knit quite a few daily pullovers because it's a great staple. It's something that you're going to always want to wear. But go check her out, Friend to Knit With. The next finished object, again, not a recent finished object, but something I did a while back when I had the urge to sew something small and finish it and complete the project and then put everything away. And so I really enjoy, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, I apologize, but it's Sotak handmade patterns, and it's Sotak. I'll link it below so that you guys can have the information. But this is called the Drawstring bag. Very simple pattern, very beautifully written pattern, a ton of sizes. The tiny one is so cute, so I think this is the next size from the smallest. And it's perfect for a sock knit in your purse, bag, car, anywhere. But it's just the right size. And I really like the fact that you get to do some patchwork. So you can see you make these little patchwork panels. And the fabric comes in a bundle of denim from Fancy Tiger Crafts, which you heard about last week. And then I didn't have a ribbon or a rope or anything I wanted to use here. So this is actually just the piece that wraps around fabric bundles and fabric cakes. It just says Moda right there. But it's perfect because it's really nice to have something little that you could throw in your bag or in your chair or at a game or anywhere, and it won't get dirty. I really like the size, and it's squishy, and it just is really nice fabric. I'll show you what's inside this bag in a minute when I tell you what I'm going to take for my knitting project at Knit City. The other thing I finished this week, and I had to finish it quick because I did the first one wrong. Let's see if I can find it. Yep, I see it. So this, at Knit City, which is this coming weekend, and I'm very excited, I'm taking a class on steeking with Gundren Johnson. And what she did was she sent a pattern, which was mostly a chart for a cutted up piece, a piece of fabric that you're going to cut. And so here it is. And what she had you do is 2 separate panels for steeking. That's one. And this is the second one. So I'm curious if there is a reason behind the difference. If there's why is one in rows and one is alternating. I don't know. I'll let you know. So we're going to cut those steeked panels this weekend at a class, and I'll learn all about it. The yarn I used for my sample is Jamieson and Smith 2-ply yarn. I can't tell you the colors though, and I have to say it was just in my stash, and I knew I wouldn't use these colors for a project anytime soon, so it was perfect for the swatch. This is a kind of a random one, but I've noticed that I keep picking up my favorite knits. And these might have been made a while back, but I showed you my favorite sweater, and this is my favorite sock. We live on some land in Colorado, and it's muddy, dusty, dirty, wet, dry, all the things, in all one day. And so I tend to wear boots. I wear Blundstone boots pretty much every single day, whether I'm pretending to dress up or not. And the main socks I like with them are these. And these are the Scandinavian socks by Sari Nordlund. And this is not really a sock blocker, it's like a sock shower, but it's Fiber Trends, and I actually got it at a thrift store. So this is just a second-hand sock shower is what I'm going to call it. But this colorwork pattern was so fun to knit, and it was on a size 3. Again, I'm probably a tight knitter, and when I do color work, I use my left hand and my right hand, and so the tension, there's not too many long, the tensioning around my finger is not long, so it's really snug. So I think that's why I probably knit tightly. But the leg and the foot, the colorwork portions were used on a size 3 needle, and I will absolutely make these again. The yarn I used was mondim, and it was the Bien Aimee dyeing on mondim yarn. The Rosa Pomar sock yarn is probably my favorite for the woolly socks that really keep me warm. I think because of the color work, it ends up kind of being double thickness, yet not too thick for my boots. It's really perfect. The color is Quartz Fume on this purple lilac, and the gray is Smoke. Again, it's the Rosa Pomar mondim, but it's dyed by Bien Aimee's team. Really great. I really like these. And the pattern is Scandinavian Socks by Sari Nordlund. Super amazing sock patterns. She has some lovely ones. Very unique. Just peeking at my notes. Okay, we'll move on to whips. I am terrible about leaving a project forever. It could need one sleeve. It could need an inch of a sleeve. It could need just the collar. And I'm completely fine just putting it aside and saying, I'll do it later. And this one was sitting for, I think, 3 years. 3 years, and it needed one sleeve. So I picked it up, and I've been encouraged to pick it up years ago, but I just never did it. And I don't have any notes on it. This is when I wasn't using GoodNotes, and the paper pattern printed somewhere, no idea. So all I did was pick up the second sleeve with a size 7 needle, US 7, and I sure hope that that is what I used, because then I'll be doing a second sleeve if that's not the case. But this is the Lawrenson sweater, and it's going to be really cute and fun. I love how they dyed. This is Kokon Bleu Aran yarn, and I love the method, the technique that it's dyed in. It almost is like little flecks, like starlight flecks. And I just love the dark blue. But this is the one sleeve that I did 3 years ago. And here's my second sleeve that I just put on the 7 needles. I lost a few stitches there. And so we'll see. Now that it's on a needle and I committed to the 7 needle, I will finish this probably in the next 2 days. But it's a really great top. I saw it originally on Caddy Jack's Knits podcast with, I believe Jackie was wearing it. So great inspiration there. The other whip that I have is the Yokey. And the Yokey has a great name. It's by Gundren Johnson. And the reason I had originally cast this on was because when I signed up for her steeking class, I immediately went and reviewed her patterns and decided that I wanted to cast on a sweater using her pattern. So I did. And this is, again, Jamieson and Smith yarn. And the main color is the only color I can tell you, and it's FC58 mix. And it's it's a really neat color. It is brown, but there's flecks of rust and blue and yellow. It's really fun. I really like it. And it'll go perfectly with my jeans and my boots. This is the top. So the Yokey, the Yokey actually has some different ideas in the pattern where you can have a bell, or I guess it's a bell sleeve, where it kind of just goes in at the bottom, or a straight. I chose a straight balloon sleeve. That's what I'm thinking. I chose a straight sleeve, and the sleeve is nearly done. This one's onto the cuff. And these are the shorty needles from Xiaogu, which are phenomenal for sleeves, I think. I tend to get the line on Magic Loop. I forget what it's called, but it's a little bit of a jog on that when you adjust the Magic Loop. So these shorties just around and around without having to shift the stitches have been very, very nice and helpful. Now I love the yoke, and I didn't really think about the color on the yoke. I just picked the colors, which I believe they're 4 colors, and went for it. I was a little unsure about the white because it's kind of in your face versus the other colors, but I'm happy with it still. The one thing that I'm a little hesitant about is this neckline. I really prefer a neckline like this, or my Lawrenson, where it's snug around the neck, and this one's nice and stable and folded over, so it's just a beautiful neckline. The sweater I wore last week, actually, from Petite Knits, is also that way, where it has just that beautiful neck that's high up. I don't mind the V-neck, as in the daily, but a boat neck where it kind of goes wide on my shoulders, I'm a little less comfortable. I kind of like fidget with it the whole time. So this one seems to be approaching the boat neck border for me. I think I will finish the entire sweater, which is not tons left. The way that the pattern's written, you could either do a tunic or just a short, regular length sweater, and which is what I'll do. But the boat neck is sort of bothering me. So I'm probably going to have to pick up the stockinette stitches right at the base of the ribbing and cut off the ribbing and try to make it a little narrower. I looked at some of the Ravelry projects and there's a variety. I feel like some are kind of close and some are not. So we'll see how it turns out. I'll keep you posted. So I gave a couple shout outs to podcasts already, and that was A Friend to Knit With, which is great. Caddy Jack's Knits, also very popular and a great podcast. What I wanted to also mention was Stitches Be Slippin'. She has a fun podcast. She has great energy. I enjoy hearing about her knits and bloopers and her days and her travels and all the things. I feel like, again, we're kind of just, I'm drinking coffee and listening to her, which is the type of podcast I tend to enjoy. The other podcast I like is the Knitting Posse. The three ladies are really fun to watch. I like their interaction, their teasing, their jokes about gauge swatches, but they seem just like genuine, wonderful people, and I enjoy watching them. So I'm sure you already watch them, but they are great as well. And that's the Knitting Posse. Again, I'll try to link all these things below. The two other podcasts that I enjoy are not knitting related. Well, they didn't start that way. Yoseka Stationery has a podcast, and it's a store based in Brooklyn, which carries beautiful notebooks and stationery and fountain pens, but they're so well versed, and they're, again, very sincere, genuine people. At least it appears so virtually, but I really enjoy watching them and learning, and that's where I bought my first fountain pen, and that's a whole nother world to enjoy. But speaking of fountain pens, I also wanted to shout out to Adventure Denali podcast, which is, the reason I first saw it was because she used to podcast on notebooks and fountain pens, and I was new to all that and was interested in learning, and I loved the manner of her podcast. It was quick and short, and she's an Arizona girl, and so am I, and so it's felt very familiar. And then just recently she's hopped onto the knitting bandwagon and is knitting and learning, and so it's fun to see her on the other side where she's a new knitter and learning all those things that I enjoy so much as well. I did want to share what I'm listening to this week, and since I finished those other two books, I wanted to share the book I'm listening to this week, and it is called The Henna Artist. And it's really, really good. I really enjoy it. A good friend of mine recommended it, and she mentioned that it was slow to start, but I actually, on my morning walks, I was able to really get into it right away. I enjoy the characters. There's sisters, there's friends, it's just a beautiful story. So I recommend you checking it out if you're needing a new book to listen to or to read. Acquisitions. So this one is an acquisition. I'm going to get covered in yarn. We'll drop that for now. But I have one acquisition, which I don't even know where I'm going to show it to you. There it is. There's my phone. This will be the easiest. So it's a bizarre acquisition because it's an app. But when I was knitting the Yokey Dokey sweater sleeve, I actually took it with me in the car watching a show with the kids, and I usually, when I have something that is around but decreasing or increasing at increments, I need to concentrate, and so I tend to do that on my own, and I write it down so that I have it for the next sleeve so they're not totally different. Well, I found an app that is a row counter for my watch, and I actually really liked that idea because I'll have my watch with me, and I want to just be able to be knitting and tap it, knitting, tap it. And so I have the row counter that is a singular project row counter. And this is what it is, and that's actually my sleeve, 110. But the problem with this one is I don't knit one project at a time. And so I found this app which lets you put more than one project in there. So it's knit and crochet row counter, and it does cost $3.99, but it looks like you can add multiple projects to it. So I can have a hat that's showing the decreases, I can have socks, I can have various things where I'm always will have it with me and not need my paper or my row counter that the boys push the buttons to already and change the number. So I thought maybe that would work for me. We'll see. They could probably push the watch too. I'll keep you posted on if I like that or not. Let's see, did I miss anything? I feel like I did. Oh, I know what I missed. I missed a couple of things. So I wanted to show you what I plan on knitting when I go on my travels to Knit City. I actually sleep pretty good on planes, so we'll see if I even knit. But I'm going to bring one sock because it's tiny and it can fit in this little bag, and I don't have to feel like I'm bringing too much along. But I'm going to knit, and I talked about this sock last week, but I didn't have the pattern for you. But I'm going to knit the Starflight socks. I don't even know how close to get because I don't see the screen. So we'll see how this goes. But the Starflight socks is by Allison Lutes, and it's in the most recent Pom Pom, edited by Candace of the Farmer Daughters Fiber. And I'm going to use Le Garçon's BFL sock. It's the Mysterious Kevin ones. And this is the collaboration they did, Le Garçon did with Needles at the Ready. And they made a sock and a mini for Kevin, and then a sock and a mini for Ray. And this is the Kevin one. And so I am using this beautiful blue. And here's the book, which is the row counter, or progress keeper, I should say. And then this, I keep calling the patterning a quilt block. So this is going to be the quilt block. And I always use a 2.25 9-inch circular needle for my socks. But for the color work, I'll probably move up to a 2 or a 3. So hopefully I'll have a leg to show you next time I podcast. And then the final little guy I wanted to show, which was not a recent make, but it was a make during the Christmas holiday last year. So I had all the boys home, and I would it's a felting project. So I would stab, and they could hear me when they were watching TV. And they're like, "Mom, what are you doing?" And I was stab. But this little guy is the current, or last year's Rhinebeck gnome. And he's just so good. And you actually knit this piece too with these tiny needles. But isn't he fun? So this is a Going Gnome kit. and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get this year's Rhinebeck going gnome. Even though I haven't been to Rhinebeck and won't be able to go this year either, but I really like the collection that they make for the Rhinebeck gnomes. Okay, I think that's it for today. Next time I might have to have a timer on my watch to see where I'm at, but I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It's always fun to share what I'm making and creating, and I will hopefully see you in a week or two. Again, my name is Maudie, and I'm at Colorado Knitter on Instagram and at Colorado 5 Knitter on Ravelry. See ya!